Welcome back, once again adventurers, to Let's Play Robotics Notes Elite. In the last episode, after seeing the photograph that Kaito handed to her of herself, along with Doc Fujita and the robot known as Yasho-kun, Junna Daitoko decided to view the events of Gunbuild 1's debut once more, this time not focusing solely on the giant papier-mâché robot, but instead seeing the expressions of the children as they laughed, jeered and mocked the rather slow behemoth. But as it turns out, in spite of all that, those children were having the time of their lives, and even some of the older people there who pretty much came there just for the food and for the free event, seemed to be enjoying themselves as well. There was one person there in particular who was glad to see that even as Gunbuild 1's big debut failed spectacularly, and that was Fujita himself. So maybe, just maybe. But anyway, on the subject of Fujita, we're back at the hospital. The aroma of disinfectant permeates throughout the hallway of the hospital. A nurse's shoes clack against the ground as she hurries along ahead of us. I don't think it will come to that. I think enough time has passed for Fujita to finally cool down, at least given his current condition. As for the lifetime ban, however, yeah, that is still entirely up in the air. Akiho shoots me a rather disturbing question as she walks beside me.
病院で殺されたらとかそういうこと言わない方がいいよ。
Yeah, indeed. You know, man, how many horror movies take place in a hospital? I know that's a very cliche thing to say, but I'm still saying it anyway.
比喩だよ、比喩。でも、ドクなら病気で弱ってるとはいえ、うちらのこと簡単にボコボコにしそうな気がして。
By beat up, if you mean scare the living bejesus out of us, then yes, he could still do that, even being bedridden.
ビビってる?
Are you, Kaito? Are you? Well, at least Akiho admits her own fears.
頼むよ。ロボ部で一番ドクと仲いいのはアキちゃんなんだから。
At this present moment, Kaito, not really.
仲は良くないと思うんだけど、うちいつも怒鳴られてばっかりだったし。
We're finally ready to execute our plan to cheer up Doc today, which is why we're here at the hospital. Doc's now accepting visitors, so people are free to come and go. That's definitely a sign of improvement, I hope. We stand in front of the door to his room. Akiho pokes me on the shoulder.
カイ、先に入ってよ。
Of course.
いや、アキちゃんからどうぞ。
だってうちロボクリニックできんの見たし。
True, but then again, this isn't really the clinic, so...
やれやれ。
With no other options, I prepare for the worst and knock on the door.
Aye.
I can hear Doc's dead response from the other side of the door.
どうも。
Doc's lying on his bed. He glances over at Akiho and I for a second, and immediately looks back out the window.
なんだ、お前らか。
Yes, indeed, just us punks. His voice lacks the usual oomph. Even though he's been drained of energy, he is still the robot dog.
ドク、なんかちっちゃくなったね。
Probably shouldn't have said that out loud, Akiho. Whoa, whoa, Akiho, you can't say something like that. It's super rude. Even if it might actually be somewhat true. But Doc doesn't retort like he usually does. If this was the Doc before he got ill, we'd have a wrench flying at us right about now. That being said, Akiho's statement is fairly accurate. The Doc laying in bed in his pajamas is a far cry from the energetic old man who yells at us, who always yells at us over the counter at the clinic. He looks like he's aged several decades in just the last week.
ずいぶんやつれちゃいましたね、ドク。
笑いに来ただけなら帰ってくれ。
That isn't why we're here.
手術
Fujita.
受けないの？
It's a big decision. He's probably been asked this question dozens of times by now. Doc doesn't even try to answer. He's made up his mind.
ま、そういう固い話をしに来たんじゃないんだな、今日は。実はドクにちょっと見てもらいたいものがあってね。
Sorry about that. Starting to wonder if this really was such a good idea to begin with.
だから一緒に出かけない？
But still, nothing ventured, nothing gained.
何？
Doc looks at us suspiciously.
おい、付き添い。何を言ってやがる。
Well, that's actually a positive sign in my book. He's actually responding to Kaito.
担当の三枝先生に外出許可はもらったよ。ドクは車椅子に乗ってくれればいい。そうしたら俺たちで連れて行くから。
行くってどこへだ？
Should we answer now or later?
もちろん、ロボクリニックだよ。
Yeah, now is actually probably the smarter choice. Good call, Kaito. Upon hearing what I said, Doc looks away.
あのお店はもう畳む。そう決めたんだ。
That may be.
もともと儲かりもしねえ店だったしな。客だってめったに来なかった。それどころかネオンが怪しいから撤去しろとか近所の連中にも言われたくらいだ。誰にも望まれてねえ店だったんだよ。結局のところはな。
That isn't entirely true, is it, Fujita?
これがいい機会さ。処分できて俺もせいせいする。
ドク！
Akiho suddenly jumps in. Doc's still in bed as she approaches him.
そんな心にもないこと言っちゃダメだよ。儲からないなら20年近くも続けられるわけないもん。ドクはあの店が大好きで続けてた。大好きだから続けられた。それくらいうちはちゃんと分かってるから。だから嘘でもそんなこと言わないで。言わないでよ。 うちはあの店がなくなっちゃったら寂しいんだから。
That was a brilliant performance there, Akiho.
とにかく俺はもうあの店には行かん。
Even Fujita was touched by that emotional outburst, but even still.
お前らが何を企んでるか知らねえが付き合ったりはしねえからな。
Stubborn old man.
あのロボットたちが待ってるんだけどな。
Well, better late than never, I guess. Doc's face turns pale in response to what I just said. Got him now. Are we dead?
てめえら倉庫に入りやがったのか。
Yes, indeed, Fujita.
あいつらはもう外に出すつもりはねえんだ。出しちゃいけねえんだよ。勝手に何をしやがった。
あんまり興奮しないでよ。血圧上がって外出許可も取り消しになっちゃうでしょ。簡単なことさ。俺たちがやろうとしてるのはオープン直後のロボクリニックの再現だよ。
Fujita can't say no to that.
このバカ野郎どもが。
俺たちがバカかどうかはその目で確かめてもらわないと。
うん。
さあ、ドク。
I pulled on the wheelchair I left outside of the room and pointed at it. I have a wicked grin on my face. I don't mind playing bad cop. You're always the bad cop, Kaito.
どうする？
After about 3 minutes of complete silence, Dog begrudgingly clicks his tongue and relents. Well played, Kaito. Well played. How very kill ballad of you. It's only about a 10-minute walk from the hospital to the robot clinic. At first, we have Twippo. Messages. Alright, I'm ready. Go, no-go's decision will be a go. Played 30 minutes, 7 wins, 0 losses, ready to go. What I can do, what I want to do. I don't know clearly, but you will soon enough, Junna. Heading over now. Yesterday, students were enthusiastically watching the footage I took. Finally, there are students who understand the hardships of being a cameraman at events. You feel my recording skills, right? I get it. Michi. God damn it, Michi. That's not why Junna went over there. Never mind. Pro tip, the most important thing about recording footage is to keep the camera running. That's pretty much blatantly obvious. Now that's a worrying sign. More news tweeps. More subliminal messages discovered besides the 19 found so far in the final episode of Gun Barrel from Anime Matome channel. Processed the subliminal footage so it's easier to view, and I found something curious. Looks like there were more subliminal messages inserted in the 19 we found. Subliminal within subliminal. Clever. Explain it easier. For example, you know where Yukichi Fukuzaka Zawa was, right? That was full of video distortion, so I got rid of that, did some contrasting, then ran it frame by frame. When I did that, it changed to a different image that wasn't Yukichi. And the usual English, please. Yep, subliminal messages in the subliminal messages. How very Inception. That isn't your mistake, like you forgot to turn something off, or maybe it's a mistake made by whoever made the subliminal messages. Not just in Japan, but gun barrel fans all over the world were analyzing the final episodes. How would they not notice the subliminal messages inside the subliminal messages for over a month? How indeed. Wait a sec, I just did some research and there is something hidden. Confirmed. Are you for real? So there were more than the 19 subliminal messages, and there might be even more subliminal messages within those subliminal messages within the subliminal messages. When will it end? It really is an instant. With the distortion on, you would miss it for sure. Whoever found it first is amazing. I watched it over and over and still don't see it. Did you know even though this video is full of distortion, it's actually 120 frames per second and not 60 FPS? 120? Then one frame is 0.007 seconds. If it was inserted in that frame, there's a chance you can miss it. Hey, you think it's safe to continue on? This is giving off a serious vibe. This was a challenge for the person who uploaded it. That's an astute observation there, Yusha-Yu. I feel some kind of unity. And that's all she wrote on that. But for now, putting all that aside, but still, it's not something we can ignore. But anyway, after Doc changed clothes, we headed up the straight long slope of Highway 58. The robot clinic is ways down after turning the corner at the Haze intersection. It's right on the border of Nakatane and Minamitane. Its exterior looks like some sort of American bar or motel, and the gaudy neon sign illuminates the night with a sketchy glow. I've thought about it ever since I first saw it, but man oh man is this design unappealing. We wheel Doc all the way to the store. No turning back now. Once we reach the storefront, Doc seems to notice that something is different. Well, of course he would. He leans forward with such force that he nearly tumbles out of his wheelchair.
Oi! ロボ部こりゃ一体どういうことだ
See it with your own eyes, Fujita. Without leaning back, he turns his head to glare at me and Akiho.
言ったはずだけど、ロボクリニックオープン当時の再現だって。
ロボットは人間にとっての友達。そうでしょ、ドク。
Your very words, Fujita. There's a line of old robots out in front of the clinic. And the center, standing conspicuously, is the blue square body of Yoshiro-kun. Thick arms and legs, wide eyes, and a mouth bent into a smile. The patrol lights of its eyes, mouth, ears, and chest are all lit up. The arms move up and down at regular intervals. Yoshiro-kun stands before us today as the fruit of Akiho's hard work. It's probably not that perfect, but then again, Akiho did do her best. The only thing she couldn't fix was the dent in the corner of the body. And it's not just him. But they're not moving like Yoshiro-kun is. The other 8 robots are all lined up next to him. Neighborhood children are crowded around them. They're chatting away about how the robots are ugly, old, cute. You get the idea. The kids are just speaking their minds, plain and simple, as children often want to do. They aren't holding anything back either. The children are going nuts with the robots, leaving smudges and fingerprints all over them. Michi and Mizuka-san went over to the elementary school and told the kids they could see some old robots. They were worried about that they wouldn't be able to get enough kids, but in the end about 20 were interested enough to show up. That's all that matters. Michi, Mizuka-san and the teachers are watching them. Seeing the kids smile is enough to make the adults smile too. A dog is different.
ダメだ。ダメなんだよ。
He finally stands up, staggering toward the children with a ghastly expression on his face. Junna isn't the only one who's been living with psychological trauma these past 11 years. Fujita has as well.
子供を近づけさせるんじゃねえ。怪我させちまうだろうが。子供が泣いちまうだろうが。ロボットは所詮ロボットなんだよ。どれだけ仲良くなれたって友達なんかにはなりゃしねえんだ。
All the pain, all the guilt, all the hurt and suffering.
ありゃただの鉄の塊で子供の相手ができるほど立派なもんじゃねえ。
True. And yet, with adult supervision, what happened to Junna shouldn't happen again.
子供に怪我させてんだから玩具としても失格なんだ。だから封印すべきなんだよ。動かすべきじゃねえんだよ。
I know it hurts, Fujita.
やめてくれ。今すぐみんな帰ってくれよ。
All the anguish. It's all flowing out. As he sadly cries out, Doc crumbles to his knees, crestfallen. The children all fall silent when they finally notice Doc.
もう子供を泣かせたくはねえんだ。ロボットを悪者にもしたくねえんだ。子供とロボットは一緒にいない方が幸せなんだよ。
ドク。
Could he be? I think he's crying. He is indeed, Kaito. My grandfather like granddaughter. In the end, that accident 11 years ago didn't just hurt Junna. No. It may have left Doc with far deeper wounds in his heart. His remorse was so strong that he sealed away his belief that robots were the friends of mankind. But we've still got one last chance to turn this around. One chance left. Isn't that right, Yoshiro-kun? In the middle of the silence, a rusty metallic sound begins to ring out. Yoshiro-kun, its eyes and ears still lit up, begins to walk. Its stride is a little unsteady, and as it moves down the gravel path, its whole body shakes. Even so, it manages to adjust itself as it moves towards Doc, almost like it has a will of its own.
Yoshiro!
Doc looks up at Yoshiro-kun, dumbfounded. And as if to answer Doc,
こんにちは。僕の名前は吉郎。
Yoshiro-kun greets him.
お前、
The robot comes to a slow stop right in front of Doc. It can't move its head, so Yoshiro-kun can only continue to look off into the distance.
みんなのお友達ロボットだよ。
But its words are clearly directed at Doc.
ねえ、握手しようよ。
As it calls out to Doc, the lights in its eyes start blinking intensely. It moves its arms up and down. It very clearly has a will of its own. And it wants to shake hands with its creator. Doc's frozen in place.
ねえ、握手しようよ。
The son encourages him with the same words. And almost as if he's seeking a hand of salvation, a hand of forgiveness, Doc extends his own hand. His wrinkled hand comes into contact with the thick, blue robot hand. I don't know why, but after seeing that, it feels like Yoshiro-kun looks happy even though its expression remains unchanged.
よろしくね。藤田のおじいちゃん。
お、
Surprise.
お前、俺の名前を
Indeed.
なんで？
新しく吹き込んだからだよ。
In a manner of speaking, Akiho triumphantly explains, but we did more than that. We did more than just bring out the robots.
ドクの息子にね、ドクの孫娘が昔と同じ言葉を新しく吹き込んだの。
So that's it. And in fact, I was thinking about that. I was thinking about the shaking hands and being best friends. It's very similar to what the lines that Yoshiro-kun had said originally. Of course, Yoshiro-kun's original voice box is now deteriorated beyond repair. But with Akiho's statement, a revelation has come to mind. other words, Fujita did the same thing. The words that Yoshiro-kun had originally spoken came from Junna herself.
孫娘
Doc suddenly starts to look around. Junna is behind one of the robots. She's hiding in the shadow of Gojiro-kun. She hesitantly, nervously, shows herself to Doc. For the first time in a long time, reunited at last. In her hand is a controller. Naturally, it's Yoshiro-kun's controller. Her voice is so quiet that it feels like it could disappear at any moment. She's still looking down. But the fact that she's standing here in Yoshiro-kun's presence, as well as those of the other robots, is another sign of improvement. Nevertheless, Junna stands next to Yoshiro-kun. A clumsy-made robot that's over 2 meters tall. And a small, childlike, timid yet tough 18-year-old girl. Their extremes complement each other well.
よろしくね、藤田のおじいちゃん。
This time, Junna raises her hand steadily. She looks Doc right in his eyes. Just as Yoshiro-kun did before her. She then extends her slender hand to him.
俺を許してくれるのか、ジュン。
He never hated you at all, Junna Daitoka. Not at all.
謝らなくちゃいけないのは私の方だから。
There are already tears in Junna's eyes. The tips of her fingers are shaking as she extends her hand to Doc. And yet, she wears a warm smile on her face.
ごめんね、おじいちゃん。今はまだ少し怖いけど、これからヨシロウくんのことも他の子たちのこともまた好きになっていくから、きっとまたお友達になるから、それまでおじいちゃんに生きててほしい。お願い、おじいちゃん。ね。
ジュン。
It's more than Fujita can bear as he takes her hand.
ありがとう。ありがとう。
Junna crouches down as Doc breaks into tears. The two of them are holding each other's hands tightly. At last, the bridge has been mended. I don't think now is the time to jump in with celebrations, Akiho. Give them a moment. The moment she sees the pair reconcile, Akiho runs over to them, completely failing to read the mood. The kids who were watching in silence are freed from the tension and start playing with the robots again. How's that for a turnabout? Robots are the friends of mankind, huh? It won't take long for this place to get noisy with the sound of random kids, just like in Junna's house. Maybe I'll check it out someday, I thought to myself. And not just Yoshiro-kun. I want to see the other 8 robots, Gojiro-kun included, moving around again and greeting visitors. And as long as the robot doctor stays in good health, I know that no matter what happens, I'll see it one day. Maybe we will, Kaito. Maybe we will. Until that day comes. And we're back at Churo High again. And Subaru is here. Surprisingly, for the first time in a long time. But that will have to wait until the next episode. So when we return... another day in October. As always, until next we meet.